Hello, everyone, and welcome to the press conference. It is Thursday, April 15th, 2021. Amazing how time is flying through the Chrysalis. It feels like yesterday, but we've, of course, been at it for a while. Um, Simon's just joining us. And let me pause for a second. All right, back on recording. So, Michael and I, when we recorded the video last night, we were kind of starting with a hypothesis, which is that, and this for me takes a little bit of self-awareness on my part, but the hypothesis is that whereas and I'm just going to make a sweeping generalization, people like us, whereas for people like us, we love to jump into new Zoom meetings and meet new people and kind of go with the flow. And oh, Kiko Lab, oh, let's go there. Oh, this other, oh, let's go there. Right. But my hypothesis is that for most people, this is very new and somewhat scary space. Why? Well, I think there's a lot of good reasons for why this is new and scary space. You don't know who you're going to meet. Not everyone's comfortable just jumping into a pool with a bunch of people they don't know, with a set of social norms that in general is unknown and potentially unknowable in advance, right? I mean, how many groups have the self-awareness to post somewhere, not just self-awareness, but take the time, the discipline to extract from that self-awareness into a set of social norms and say, hey, these are our social norms, right? I mean, social norms is just a term I learned a few weeks ago anyway. So what the heck is a social norm? My point is this, whereas in real life, people gravitate towards wherever, circles or circumstances or work or study or family or whatever that life takes them. And in the Zoomosphere, it's kind of the Wild West of meeting new people and jumping into conversations and projects and who knows what. And let's face it, there's some landmines out there. I've commented on some of my experiences working with different networks out there. One of which, a pretty sizable one, actually, with a fair amount of influence. When they saw what we were doing here and some of the innovations we were coming up with, they launched not one, but two character assassination initiatives against me personally, right? Trying to take me down and take down what we're doing here. And so I just cite that as an example. Yeah, thank you, Michael. I just cite that as an example of some of the landmines that are out there. So my hypothesis is that, here we just keep chugging away. I successfully defended against both of those. And I would actually love to do some sort of truth and reconciliation process precisely with those folks and anyone who is affected by that. So I'll just put that out there into the universe. And, in general, we need to have ways of dealing with landmines and dealing with any kind of negative stuff that comes up. But my even more general point is that for a lot of people, this is kind of scary territory. And people don't just jump in and pop around and check out this and check out that. Yes, there's some of us who do, but I would say most people don't. And most people aren't even on the Zoomosphere yet, right? So if we're going to get together as humanity, I mean, I'm reminded of the Macintosh launch in 1984, a computer for the rest of us, right? I'm not trying to make an advertisement for Macintosh or anything like that, or Apple, but they did do a lot of things very, very well. And one of them was to recognize that the computer industry prior to that time was really a specialized domain for specialized geeks and nerds and techies. And it really wasn't welcoming to the general community. Now, Apple changed all that, and of course they had very expensive products, phenomenally expensive products going back to that time. But you know, price points aside, you know, their stuff was for everyone, right? And I think we're in a similar situation with the Zoomosphere, right? There's a few of us who are comfortable swimming in these waters, but I'd say most people aren't. And so how can we, as we develop the Chrysalis calendar, really make it a Chrysalis calendar for the rest of us? What I really mean is for all of us, right? And so inspired by that hypothesis, and I'd love to hear people's thoughts on that hypothesis, both from your own experiences and perhaps observations of others, friends, family, colleagues, whatever. I mean, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that as we proceed in this conversation. And, you know, and then of course, there's what we put in the video, which I'm going to share, which is a way of color coding so that people have a more clear idea, you know, what am I stepping into? What am I jumping? What essentially, it's not just the social norms, but, you know, what's the focus of the meeting? What's the tenor of the meeting? What's the, you know, give me some idea what I'm jumping into before I just jump in. And so for those of you who haven't seen last night's video, I'll just screen share now really quickly. And everyone, please jump in. I'm not trying to make this a monologue, and I really don't want it to be a monologue, so just jump in. But if you look at this, I proposed 4 different colors for starters. And the 4 colors are, I'll just kind of highlight here. On the far right, we have red, the color red, right? And that I choose that to symbolize just pure love, right? So this is like a far extreme of pure love and compassion and acceptance and welcoming and all those good things. On the far left extreme with the color blue, think IBM Deep Blue. It's pure data, pure facts and data and objective truth, you know. Think, I don't know, think of just some like scientific society that's just, it's all about the facts and the data and all that. You know, yes, we say good morning to each other and invite people to have some coffee, but after that, it's right down to business, right? So think of kind of like a pure heart space over here on the right and a pure head space over here on the left. And then in between those two are things that are in between. So the orange would signify mostly heart space, but we're trending towards topics and the logical, right? And the green would be mostly facts, data, science, etc., but we're also trending more towards the heart space, right? So it becomes a spectrum, right? That's the basic idea of what we proposed last night in the video that Michael and I did. And so that if we then extend that to the calendar, then imagine in the calendar, we would see things color coded with those 4 colors. But then notably look at these boxes that don't have any of those 4 colors. I just put a black border around those by default. You know, what do those signify? And what I'm suggesting is not that those signify something in the middle here, which I'll just highlight for a second. So if you think of this as a spectrum, in the middle would be this. And sure, we could find some color to represent the middle, the absolute middle, though I don't think that's really necessary. Rather, what I'm proposing here is that no color at all, rather than signifying the middle, it simply signifies unspecified, right? Because the reality is every meeting, I think, would fit well within one or another of those 4 colors. So if there is no color at all, let it simply mean that it's unspecified. Ideally, it would be specified, I guess, but in this case, it's simply not specified because the organizers of the meeting did not take the time to specify it, and maybe they don't even know about color coding, which I think is going to be the case for a lot of people starting. But anyway, with that, let me get off screen share and let me turn off my own mouth and pass the talking feather around. And if there's questions, please fire away with questions, comments, other ideas, different ideas. Actually, let me continue talking for another couple of seconds. Continue to screen share real quick. So if this, and I'll just highlight in yellow here. So if this dimension that I'm proposing right here, you know, between the red, the blue, and the orange and green in between, that's one dimension. There might be other dimensions, potentially multiple other dimensions. And so what I'm suggesting is this is just one example of how we might create a dimension and put it to use, but there might be multiple. And so the bottom line is I think we're just scratching the surface here and just getting started. And thank you, Michael, for the Sharpies. All right. Yes.
There are the Sharpies. I have an idea or a comment, maybe, whatever. I think all is really good about the hearts, because I guess you all know, the romantic, heart thing has been so exploited and, commercialized and all this stuff. The heart kind of gets another connotation and gets into, the heart and Cupid, and so many people just think about that when they see hearts. I wondered if there would be a better, of course, we know about the love, but the love that we are talking about, I don't think is very well characterized by the heart out there, And the heart, it can be all this, the Valentines or my boyfriend or my girlfriend, it's just a pretty common thing. So if that was the shape that was actually, but that's what I saw, then I wondered if there would be a better thing that will talk about the love that we refer to here, more than what it will mean to the world out there. So just so that it's not taken lightly, or that is not a little portion of the love we're talking about, what people understand, or, it's just heart is just so can mean anything or nothing, in my opinion.
Very good. Very good, Sister Ivy. Thank you. No, really good points. So let me say the following. What I've put out there in terms of colors and the spectrum and all that, I'm not suggesting that that's good or well phrased or a good choice of words or good choice of images or anything of the sort. I'm just putting like a very rough draft out there, right? So in this,
you did so much work, and you have done so much work that you don't have to, I think you don't have to say that. It's just so much what you do, really. So I'm just commenting on that.
No, thank
you for all your good work. No, really, I mean it.
Thank you, Sister Ivy. Thank you very much. And no, but I didn't mean it in so much of a self-critical way, and that's not where I'm going with it. What I am saying is, it is very rough, and I'm just saying, let's play in the rough right now. Let's keep it rough. Let's. What I'm suggesting is that we not try to perfect it or perfect what we're trying to say. Let's just get our rough ideas out there and see if we're even in the ballpark, or if we need to go to a different ballpark, or if we're missing something fundamental. So rather than like chisel away and say, wait a second, I'm not so sure I like this heart image, that's kind of over commercialized, What if we just say, okay, I get it. You're basically saying love and, you know, head and heart. Okay, I get it. I get the rough ideas. We can work on the wording as we go, but let's first play in the realm of just kind of these rough concepts and see, and just kind of see and feel into it. Are we heading in the right direction here with this? Or should we be heading off in a different direction in terms of color coding, in terms of, you know, creating some sort of a demarcation, an identification of kind of the spirit, the social norms, the focus, the I don't know what. You see, I feel like since this is the first time we're really taking this on in a serious way, you know, there's just a lot of newness here. And so I'm saying, I'm just encouraging myself and all of us to be comfortable with the fuzziness, the ambiguity, the imperfection, the roughness of it all. Yes, Simon, go ahead.
I think you've got a bit of a problem working on the color code assumption, because my perspective is that, you know, if you take something which is, as you describe it, data-based or truth-based or whatever, I mean, we want to introduce the heart into everything. So it could be a very dry subject, but it still needs to come from a place of compassion, doesn't it? So, you know, if you're color coding it and you give the impression that everything's, like I said, a very dry subject, then that misses an aspect of every meeting, which is, for me, is what the Chrysalis calendar is about. It's about a transformation to a new stage in humanity, so that humanity permeates everything.
So
Gotcha. Yeah.
So almost what Simon is saying is that the general color of the calendar is constantly evolving. It's almost like a thermometer. And I was thinking of something really weird. I don't know why this is crossing my mind. I'm actually, as we're speaking, knitting in various different colors, because color is such a visceral language for me, that suddenly color was put in my hands so that my head could be free, so that I could think of this. And I was thinking of calendar and what we're trying to promote. We're trying to promote events on the Zoom sphere, meetings. Sorry, but the analogy that came out, maybe because I was throwing some newspapers away today, was like, you know, when you buy a spot in the newspaper to announce somebody's death, and then they decide how they're going to present that. The person who buys the spot decides how they're going to present it. Big letters, little letters, with a photograph, with a symbol, with a, even the size varies. So if we're promoting events, we're not going to be grading in size. But I think we're presenting a tray, and people are putting the information on that tray, and that tray is coming to the internet, so that the information is available in one same place. And I think after you talk about these concepts, if colors play a role, they show up. So I would be very interested, like last week when we met, Simon wasn't here, and I was like showing those sketches, and then later on you weren't here, Jamin, and Simon and Eric were talking about the colors in the calendar, and they changed colors and everything. And I was thinking, okay, I was thinking about, I am one of those people, Jamin, like you said, that I superficially come to meetings in the sense that I come with ease to meetings, but it really isn't like that at all. I'm an introvert, so I need to prepare myself a lot to show up in meetings. And why would I look at a Chrysalis calendar? Because I would want to be in the know. What is out there? When is it happening? How can I access it? And the cleaner that information came through, the better for me. And I even said something in the last meeting, I think it was Monday's meeting, that I think in the end I wasn't clear about. It wasn't like grading the meeting, the events, but I think at one point we said that the events that people would be attending more, they would stay at the top of the list naturally, and then the others would fall to the back of the list. Because it would be, we were imagining a calendar so full of events, like with hopefully all the events possible, that it would be full of information, so full of information that we can't really make that very complicated. It needs to be extremely simplified. And I think I've said what was in my head. I don't know if any of what I said was understandable, but yes, over.
Yeah, this is Michael. I agree with you. We would get so full of information, we would have to go to our campfire breakout room for music and authors speak.
I have a question, I guess, is kind of because the last thing, the last time we were here, Eric and I guess the rest of us were really looking into this, that not to have color. And also at that meeting, we, Brother Jamin have brought up, and we say, oh, good idea, about not having color, but having only like the icons or the only, so that it, because, and then we kind of played with the colors because it seemed like so much colors already, and we didn't even have, you know, we had so little at all of events, and there were already so many colors, and it, you know, we were saying, yeah, it doesn't, it's starting not to look that good because so many colors. And so is this something that we have resolved already, or not? Or am I, you know, please, if I'm missing something, but that's from last meeting that I think is the last meeting. And I know Brother Jamie needed to go, but we stayed and then kind of look at the colors, and it was already too much. And so what happened with that, the emojis idea and no color? I'm just, you know, just want to know if that was resolved or anything, or just the thought about it, whatever. Thank you.
Very good. I'll be happy to comment on that in a few minutes. James has had his hand up for a while, so go for it, James.
Thanks, Chairman. Yeah, my question, I just have a simple question. Is there an option on the calendar to put in an image rather than a color? Because just considering the vast amount of conversations that can come out of this, and there will be a vast amount of conversations, then it would be very confusing with just color. I mean, when you go on your phone and you look in your apps, you immediately find what you want because there's an image there. Like, so if there was a way of putting an image on the plate rather than you know, just a small image representing which type of meeting they are. We could, you know, it's probably more appealing to the eye anyway, or less confusing, I should say. I'm not sure though, is there a way of putting an image in the calendar space blocks? Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a way of putting images there, and let me just respond briefly to Sister Ivy's questions before I pass the feather to Simon. So first of all, to answer your question, James, you know, I think we can put whatever we want there, and let's go into this with that mentality. Let's not let it be driven so much by, oh, what does the system permit us to do, whatever. No, let's first get clear on what we want, and let that be our kind of our guiding light. Because even if we can't do images or whatever with one system, we'll find the system that does. Now, in this case with Team Up, we can do images and icons and pretty much anything we want. As far as the question of color being resolved, we certainly did talk about it. But frankly, I don't think it is ever going to be 100% resolved. But then even for the interim, what are we going to do for starters? I don't think that is resolved at all. And just because we talk about something and people have opinions and ideas doesn't mean that we've reached resolution. I think we're still in the early stages of getting towards even a preliminary resolution of what we want. Colors, no colors, icons, images, et cetera, et cetera. So I propose we continue with the conversation and continue to explore and figure out, what do we want? What do we think the ideal calendar will have in terms of all these different aspects, colors, images, icons, et cetera, et cetera. And with that, I will pass the talking feather to Simon.
I have to say that I think colors is problematic for two reasons. One is colors are limited. Right? Well, they're not, they're infinite, but the main ones, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, those are kind of your primary, well, they are your primary colors. So that's what you're working with, that's your palette. But I think what Karen said was about the funeral was a really interesting one, because I mean, fortunately, touch wood, despite my advancing age, I haven't been to that many funerals, but I'm aware that, you know, of funerals where people say, you know, please don't all come in black, please come in bright colors. It's, you know, we want to celebrate a life, not the passing. So colors aren't always what you might assume in terms of what they represent. So like I said, that's a bit difficult. All I can say is if you're talking about a universal calendar, to me, you know, I know that I get a lot of emails inviting or highlighting certain events. And what attracts me is the topic. So I'm kind of curious what happened to the idea of simply a scrolling topic thing. I mean, what we're talking about here is a search. People have got limited time. We're talking about hopefully a highly populated calendar with lots of events, lots of things going on all the time. You're talking about people coming to the calendar, feeling comfortable, feeling engaged, feeling involved, and determining which events they want to turn up to. Because what I wouldn't want is a situation where people get to the stage where it becomes almost like an addiction. I don't want people on this calendar 24/7. I want them to be selective and then go out and apply, hopefully, what they've learned in the real world. I think it's a real danger that people are becoming completely locked in that, you know, you got these kids in Japan that are on computer games all day long in nappies because they can't even break away to go to the toilet. It's getting so ridiculous. As far as I'm concerned, the Chrysalis calendar is a facilitator to help us do things collectively outside in the sunshine, hopefully, mostly sunshine, or even in the rain if needs be. So what I'm looking for is a quick, I'm looking for somewhere where people want to put their information So there's two people coming. There's people who come in to find information and put information. And if I was coming to this calendar, I would want it to create, it's like a feel of energy and something to indicate the level of activity. You know, there's thousands of people coming to this place. It's almost like a conference hall. You know, when you go to a conference and it's absolutely buzzing, and you think, wow, there's a lot of people come here, or a sci-fi, you know, a comic book convention. Not that I've ever been to one, but you know, thousands of people turn up, and they're all there because they all got something in common. That's what the Chrysalis calendar is about to me. Something that we have in common, because we want to be part of this transformation to a new level of, you know, a new awareness of humanity. So everything there needs to relate. You know, I've said before, I think the most important thing is the outside of the Chrysalis, what's appropriate within the space, what isn't. And then you need people to come to the calendar for two reasons: to put the information up and to find information. And in terms of introducing new people to it, or as you say, or new to the internet in terms of video conferencing, Zoom, or whatever it happens to be, I don't know, you got to think about it maybe almost like a hotel lobby. If you're going to a conference, there's a lobby area, and you walk in, and perhaps you're a bit nervous because you don't know anybody. So, you know, maybe there needs to be some sort of lobby area where people that can actually say, I'm first time here, and somebody could actually reach out and befriend them and show them around, that sort of thing. I really relate this to the real world. I think that's what's happening. When the internet started, it was very narrow, very confined. The development of the internet is almost like stepping into a real world of virtual reality. The internet has become, with, you know, the fact that you're in California and I'm in the UK, it's amazing. The whole world is like some sort of amazing conference center. So that's the way I see it. I mean, as somebody was, let's say I've got nothing to put on the calendar. I'm coming to search for interesting things. I think I would want to search by topic. For example, I'm particularly interested at the moment in all things eco-villages. That's something that I would come and I would want to be able to, so I'd search the topic and then I would see what's going on the calendar. I wouldn't search, I don't think, from a color coding type perspective on the calendar. And I wouldn't know how to search for eco-villages from a color coding perspective, because it's from the heart. I want to live in community, but it's also very pragmatic. So where would it fit? Where would that subject fit as a topic within the context of a color coding? I don't know. But if I came and I just want to look up eco-villages, simple, from a scroll type thing maybe. And if I was new to it, I said before last week, I would like to come to a homepage with a brief video that explains what the calendar is all about. Maybe even with an option, would you like a friend to show you around? Click here, we'll get somebody to contact you, take you by the hand, show you around.
You know, as I was listening to you, I thought, will the emojis be a good solution to that? Like, I thought that example of the eco village was so good, because yeah, it can be in here and be in there at the same time. Will the emoji be something more concise about, you know, like intentional communities, boom, this emoji, and social something can be in a separate one or something like that? Will that be
Well,
better?
I would say you need multiple ways to search. So for example, if you were interested in eco-villages and you scrolled and you found I don't know what, if you scrolled and it came to eco-villages, it would then go, I guess, to a list of things on the calendar for the next week or the next fortnight about eco-villages. How would you decide which one is most appropriate for you? Then you need a brief description of the event, who's hosting it. And then maybe if you then went to the calendar, Could you click on it in such a way that it took you back to a list of all similar events? And could you find events that are somehow connected to eco-villages? So I don't know. I honestly think, Jamin, that this needs to evolve rather than have all the eggs in your row before you start. We don't know how it's going to work to best effect. I mean, you know, Facebook continues to evolve. All these things do. It's never a finished product. I keep feeling that you know, the most important thing now is, you know, to say to people, this is the web address. They go there, quick overview, see what's going on. Add your events, turn up to events. All there is to it, really.
All right. Good stuff, everybody. Simon, if I'm not cutting you off there.
No,
Okay. So we got Jamin in the queue, and no one's in the queue after Jamin. Please raise your hand if you'd like to talk, so we can get the queue going. So I've got a bunch of stuff to respond to here. Oh, who is that? Is that Michael? Okay. Oh, thanks. Okay. So
Go ahead. Thank you.
okay. So I've got a bunch of stuff. So first of all, I want to be clear. I'm not suggesting that color coding would substitute for search, right? And searching for what you're actually looking for topic wise. I see these as two kind of orthogonal dimensions. One is the dimension of topic space, right? Which I agree, that's the primary one, right? But I'm suggesting there's another dimension there that's a little bit hidden, right? But which I think might actually be decisive, which is the dimension of, and here's where I'm just kind of groping around, the dimension of social norms, and the dimension of, you know, is this a conversation that's very much, you know, fact-based and, you know, looking for the truth, or is this a meeting that's much more touchy-feely and, hey, welcome, hey, how you doing? Well, you know, I'm going through some really hard stuff. Oh, really? Tell me about it. You know, this kind of, is it a touchy-feely love fest, or is it a hard-hitting scientific inquiry, right? Because those are two very different things. And again, I'm not saying I've got this perfectly figured out in terms of, this is the spectrum right here. And, you know, so just to give an example, the Kiko Lab meeting before this last one on Monday, there was a gentleman in there who I had a particular experience with, like, I don't know, a year ago or so. I went to one of his meetings, and he was a total asshole to me. I mean, a flaming asshole. And this is someone who I think is probably, you know, fairly sharp. I'm just using this term sharp, I'm not using the term intelligent, but sharp. And I was very bothered by that. And it would have really helped me to know that, you know, before going into that meeting, that it was an asshole friendly environment, you know, run by assholes, perhaps for assholes. And I'm using this as a very technical term, by the way. I'm not trying to be vulgar here. In fact, there's a really great book called The No Asshole Rule, written by a professor of business at Stanford, who identified correctly that we have an epidemic of assholes in corporate America. And I worked for Microsoft for a number of years, and there was an epidemic of assholes. They were everywhere. And so, in fact, we would search very hard to find asshole-free spaces within the company within which non-assholes could converge and work together in a different kind of environment. And the character assassination stuff, I mean, my goodness. I mean, wouldn't it be cool if we could establish and identify asshole-free zones that are free of character assassination and that are really about people coming together to work together in a really good, healthy heart space, right? And then if the assholes want to congregate over here and talk about whatever they want to talk about and be assholes to each other and to anyone who shows up, you know, how do you police that? Maybe the best, and anyway, so that's really where I'm coming from, because topics alone would not have indicated any of that. In fact, if you had just gone on a topic basis, that community that I mentioned, not by name, but by my experience there, I'll call them the character assassins. If you just look under topics, you would think that, oh my goodness, these are the most evolved, you know, transformational people. They're really into transformation and, oh, what great stuff. But it turns out, I mean, beyond assholes, if they had been mere assholes, that'd be one thing. They became character assassins with sharp spears, looking not just to hurt, but to take people down, right? And so I really feel very strongly that topics don't, while they're extremely important, and don't get me wrong, I'm not downplaying topics in the slightest. No. I'm assuming, you know, good logical titles and detailed description. I'm just assuming all that. I'm not trying to replace any of that. But I'm just saying, on top of that, what else? Right? And so, because there's obviously something missing here. And, you know, and I'm just thinking, you know, someone like myself, who I consider to be fairly well defended, you know, intellectually and emotionally and all that, if I've had such terrible experiences out there, can you imagine people who aren't that well defended emotionally, psychically, you know, spiritually, intellectually, whatever? I mean, I think people are probably all too often show up to some of these meetings where there are assholes or character assassins and get scared away and maybe don't come back. And maybe because what we want is precisely, we don't just want a calendar that shows all the information there. See, I think we're making an assumption here. Some of us are making an assumption that, oh, the information's there, just jump into the meeting and you'll be fine, right? But I think that may be true of you, but I don't think it's true for everyone. And I've certainly had some very negative experiences. So what I'm suggesting is, in addition to the information, the data, the zeros and ones about the topic and et cetera, that we have something that's a bit more in the touchy-feely realm that indicates something about the culture, the social norms, the spirit, the feeling. And again, I'm groping for words here. I'm not trying to achieve perfection. I'm just trying to crack into this other dimension other than topics and all that. And James, I'd love for you to comment more on what you were talking about earlier. I'm not even sure what I'm looking for there, but whenever you're ready, please jump in. And meanwhile, Karen has raised her hand. But this is a great conversation. Let's keep it flowing, because I really think we're getting somewhere. It's taking some time. Yes. And Simon, I totally really empathize, and I share this urgency of, let's just get the damn calendar out there and just get it going already. Enough talk, as we say in Ireland, quit the shit and cut the cake, you know. But I am, at the same time, I am also committed that we do this well, you know, and that we make this a safe space that actually goes beyond anything that's been done before, and really creates something that people can say, whoa, you know, I didn't even know about these dimensions that are now very present here. Wow, that's what I was looking for, kind of thing. So I say, let's keep at it. That's why we have these long meetings. So with that, I'm going to pass the talking feather. Karen has her hand up, followed by Simon, and I'm also volunteering James, but James, please raise your hand when you feel like it. Don't let me volunteer you. And Karen, go ahead, followed by Simon.
Are events going to be rejected from the Chrysalis calendar? And so if they're not going to be rejected, which I don't think they will be, It's a calendar of events. You cannot really, I'm going to use the word police, but that's a horrible way of describing it. You cannot really police what will be happening in the meeting. I think the meetings become, the meetings are their own business card, so to say. So the general aspect of the calendar, yes, can be friendly, can be, and you can present that with design very well, but the essence of the meetings is up to the meeting when it happens. So I don't think that with colors or icons or names or anything, we could ever predict or try to group in any form what is going on. Over.
Can I just comment to this, because this is such an important thing that we have talked about before. That yes, and just to kind of update Karen on this, because we talked a while ago, there is going to be some taking care of the meetings. This also, which I just thought we should really write that down very clearly, is my suggestion, about what events can go in the calendar according to they do respond to what we are working on. They are about healing, change, transformation for humanity and the world, because there are going to come other things about, people wanting to commercialize fashion or who knows what, I mean, all the commercial stuff, and that happens everywhere. People want to sell, and so it won't be policing, but we have talked about this, that there will be I guess whatever word we want to call it, but it could be maybe, yeah, I don't know the word, but we can find it. I'm sure you probably have it already, you guys, someone supervising, or that sounds bad too. But anyway, just making sure that, yeah, it's not just whatever out there and it's going to be on the calendar. So that's kind of, I just want to update you on that, because yes, there's going to be that. We have talked about it. And I strongly suggest that we write something about it. This is the what will determine if an event can be on the calendar or no. Bam, 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 very clear, so that there's no, that it is clear to everyone. I think this is our, I would say, kind of duty to get that clear about this great calendar. Thanks.
All right, a lot of great points being raised. And we've got Simon in the queue, followed by James, followed by Michael, followed by Jamin. Go for it, Simon.
I'm going to have to go after this comment, but I'll be back hopefully not long after 6, if that's okay. Yeah, like you said, some great points. In my mind, what is the calendar? I love the color concept. I mean, colors are great, very powerful, and I'm sure they've got their place. But I'm not quite clear what you hope to achieve by the color aspect. Is it almost like a snapshot that will tell somebody something that's going to help them in some way? But whilst people were chatting, I keep trying to relate this back to the real world. How does the internet and the Zoomosphere, as you put it, and everything that's going on, how the internet is evolving, how it connects us all, and the collective superintelligence. What does, and people's experiences and their individuality and their introverty, or whether they're introvert or extrovert, or so in the middle, and how they change. I was thinking, what's a good analogy? And it occurred to me, it's a bit like a university. I don't know what it's like in America, but in the UK, we have something called Freshers Week, whereby when you go, there's an event and it tells you everything goes on. It tells you about all the extracurricular activities, all the clubs, all the associations, debating societies, sports clubs, and you join a few things and you start to get to know people. And of course, a big thing that universities have increasingly are counselors, because an awful lot of people are incredibly vulnerable in that early stage. You know, they might be the first time away from home. It's terrible rates of suicide at universities, and especially amongst first-year students. So yeah, you said about creating a safe space, Jamie, which is really interesting. So yeah, this analogy of a university and the first week when people turn up, and then you get the third-year students who are like really bolshy because they've been there for 3 years and they think they know it all. And some of them are really nice to the first-year students. Some of them will go out of their way to make their life hell, the assholes as you describe them. You never know when there's an asshole going to be around the corner. And I'm not sure a color code will tell you that. People are going to be vulnerable and they're going to be hurt. The people are very often hurt at their most unsuspecting. So I think Sister Ivy is, you know, saying about the ongoing moderation. People, you know, some people are very maternal. And I think it'd be really good to have some sort of space within the calendar for people that feel vulnerable, that don't feel like, haven't found it's a safe space, because the real danger in that moment is this might be a fantastic place for them to spend their time, but you might lose them. You know, they're hurt in the moment and they never come back. You know, which is, you know, there's a huge dropout rate with university students in the first year because they just don't settle in. So there's so many nuances to this in terms of what you're trying to develop. I really respect what you know, all these questions you're asking at the outset, and they're really, really important questions. And the color coding, as you quite rightly say, I'm sure plays a part, but I'm just curious how you think a color code will help somebody, especially somebody who's brand new to it.
Yeah, I'm going to give a super quick answer. And by the way, jumping the queue like this is okay if it's like a minute or less, just a super quick reply. That's a social norm, by the way. But anyway, precisely my idea, and I think the university analogy is a great one. Very well, really great examples here, parallels rather. But precisely my idea is if it's code red, if it's colored red, it's safe. It's all about heart. This is where the people who have this maternal instinct and people who are skilled counselors and all that, that's where you'll find them. And you could come in tears. You could come totally lost, totally shattered, heartbroken, distraught. This is a safe space to land. Whereas the blue ones, no. There you're going to find some hard-hitting, sometimes assholes. In fact, the assholes would probably congregate there. You know, because they're here to talk about facts and truth and debate and tell you when you're wrong and just tell you that you're wrong and not say it in a soft, sweet way or anything like that. And so I think we're really getting to the heart of it, of exactly why I want color coding. It's really so that people can find the red stuff and also to know what stuff is not red, you know, blue and green. And orange. So I'm really excited. Okay, with that, that's my minute. James, followed by Michael, followed by Jamin. All right, go for it, James.
Well, I'll just say like that. I go along with what Simon is saying. I think it's going to be it's a search engine, so you're going to need, I think, simple scroll down descriptions is probably either simplifying or whatever, or else we could just go back because from what I'm gathering, if we want something appealing to the eye, easy to search, scrollable, and you know, kind of also visually descriptional as well, then we're almost going back to the idea of snack bar. That's all I want to say. You know what I mean? And what we were developing for the idea of the menu for snack bar with the traditional old style, menu and topics, and simple as that, like just making it appealing to the eye, but it's also just basically a searchable with just descriptions. Thanks.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you, James. All right, Michael is up next, followed by Jamin. And Michael, you just froze. Okay, now you're unfroze, Michael. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I thought we could have some of our caregiving friends, like counselors, train people who are our hosts and co-hosts, so that we could have an understanding how we might want to moderate folks who come to our pages. That's all. Thank you. All good comments. Thank you all.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, Jamin is next in the queue. No one's in the queue yet after Jamin.
I also, if I may, one more idea. I propose we have a post-COVID conference in the late fall, somewhere in the Midwest, where we have our Chrysalis conference. We have a nice press conference. We have a nice Chrysalis conference right in Chicago, right downtown Sheraton Hotel and Towers, right downtown Chicago. Wonderful hotel. I used to live in Chicago, so I love the town. And we could train our hosts and such. We could really grow our attendees. That's all.
All right, very good. And I see Simon's taking a break to attend to some other stuff. He'll be back. All right, sounds good, Simon. We look forward to seeing you back. Meanwhile, let's carry on. Here's my thoughts based on a lot of stuff we've been talking about in the last several minutes, a lot of really good ideas. The thing is, there's kind of this, and also building off of what you just said, Michael, about, kind of training people so that, basically they can be nice. I actually don't believe we can train people to be nice. Right? Not that anyone was suggesting that. Exactly, but I'm suggesting it, and I'm suggesting that it's very difficult to do, and that's a big reason, actually the main reason why I'm really excited about color coding, right? Not to say anything at all about the topics. No, that's all going to be in text or in categories, as James was suggesting, like the old, going back to the snack bar idea, which I feel is going to be very difficult to implement, by the way. That's why I've kind of drifted away from the snack bar, menu of topics. I just think that's going to be very difficult to implement, because for the simple reason that somebody's going to come along and they're going to have their title and their topic or their topics or whatever description. How do you map that, to some predefined topics? I just see it as very challenging, right? I think there can be some broad kind of segmentation, like, is this mostly about dealing with the needs of people, like food and shelter and healthcare, or needs of the planet, like basically get the humans out of my watershed, so that nature can bounce back. But aside from such big, broad things like that, I just think it's very difficult to segment into discrete topics, which is why I really like the idea of text for the topic, text for the description, and search. Absolutely. Do search on keyword search. I think really just kind of nails it. It's so universal. It's so universally applicable. And ever since Google in the late 90s, we're all used to it. We all know how to do it. It works, right? It works in a way that nothing else really has come close to working. So I see the solution, and this is just kind of a momentary synthesis from the past several weeks of all these conversations. The solution, I think, is two big things coming together. Text and search, text in the title, text in the description, search, you can search for stuff, keyword search, whatever. Advanced search, great, knock yourself out. Hashtags, why not? If people are sophisticated enough to put hashtags associated with their event, go for it. Even automatically generated hashtags based on transcripts of previous meetings, go for it, right? But beyond that, I really think that search is the key for finding what you're looking for topic-wise. And then color coding, I think is so important for the university-related examples Simon gave. You know, kids committing suicide, kids dropping out because they don't know how to fit in, third-year students being assholes to first-year students, hazing and all that crap. We've just seen so much of it. And since I've spent so much time here in the Zoomosphere, I've seen just some really nasty examples of it. Elitism and all this shit. And so really the idea of color coding for me is so that the spaces that are intentionally designed to be safe and compassionate and loving and caring and welcoming, like what I strive for in this space right here. And by the way, this meeting is color coded green, right? Because we've got work to do, right? So if you see me like getting on task and saying, let's talk about this and let's talk about that, it's because this is color coded green. It's not heartless, it's not blue, you know, like my shirt, it's green. Most of the meetings that we have here in this channel are red or orange. This one's green because we got work to do. We need to get moving, right? But let people self-identify. And if you're going to be color-coded red, we were talking about policing, right? I think if you're going to be color-coded red, if you're going to call yourself red, you need to be certified. And that means that if you mistreat anyone, you lose that certification and you cannot call yourself red, right? So only certain folks would even be able to create red meetings, the ones who are certified compassionate, right? So that for newcomers, they know that's a safe place to go, right? And, you know, I just think of myself when I was, you know, a little kid first going to public school, you know, I was terrified, and there were mean kids and bullies and fights and all this crazy stuff. Where is a safe space? I needed to know, where is it safe? Or if it's like, if I was learning to swim, I wouldn't want to, you know, jump into the deep end of the pool where a bunch of assholes are fighting and dunking each other. I might get drowned or something. So, you know, where's the shallow waiting area, you know, with lifeguards and nice people and, you know, an understood clear no asshole rule, right? So I think this is absolutely crucial. And I don't know if color coding is the way to do it, but I think we need to find some way of doing it. I think color coding is I really like the idea of color coding because it's such an orthogonal, you know, perpendicular dimension to text, to topics, or topics as expressed via text, right? So you can say, okay, let me search for meetings about permaculture. Okay, there's these 7 meetings about permaculture. Now I can kind of do a quick filter or scan based on colors. Yes, I know there are all these 7 are about permaculture. I got that. Okay. Now, which kind of meeting on permaculture do I want to be in? Red, orange, green, or blue? If I want to get right to the facts and just be hard hitting and this, okay, maybe blue is my speed. If I'm just getting into the Zoomosphere for the first time, I need some orientation. I need some counseling. I need some folks with that matriarchal instinct. Red or orange. You see what I'm saying? Of course you do. Anyway, love to pass the talking feather around, and then maybe let's take a break at the top of the hour because we'll be 2 hours into it. Of course, we could break before then if we want. Anyone feeling like taking a break now, or how are we doing energy wise? I know Simon's off on a different meeting. Sister Ivy, yes.
Knowing that, especially you, I've heard being so good at bringing up great names. Listening to your conversation just before, I think we need to, or that it will be great to find a good word for the meetings that is not policing, because we know that's totally negative. And so I was thinking if moderating is good enough, but it probably doesn't describe what we will be doing. But definitely is not policing. But we know it's needed because we talked about it a while ago. So I was just throwing it out there. If anybody has a better word, I don't think moderating does it, but
I've got a word. And I'm going to use an analogy from the food industry, right? If I were to try to police the food industry, oh my goodness, I would be just going to the grocery store and writing tickets here, there, and everywhere. Bad for this reason, bad for that reason. This isn't vegan. This is full of chemicals. This is full of additives, preservatives, artificial colors, artificial flavors, mono and diglycerides, and just all this shit. So instead of that, what has happened in the food industry? What has happened, instead of policing the bad and saying ticket, injunction, infraction, you're going to jail, instead, we created certifications. Certified organic, vegan, non-GMO. In other words, we rewarded the good with certifying that they're good in this way or that way or this other way, rather than trying to police the bad. I think policing the bad is a fool's errand, but that's why, we developed the standard certified compassionate, which I would love to see applied to meetings. If you're code red, it's because you're certified compassionate, certified safe space to go, right? Here, let me just
sounds
check.
great. Sounds great. That's beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was counting on you.
Thank you. Hey, let me just check in with my partner real quick. Karen has her hand up, but let me check in. I'll be right back.
Take it away, James. Take it away, James.
James, we don't hear you. Are you here?
Oh, James is here, and Karen had her hand up. I just needed to check in with my partner real quick. Yes, Karen, go for it.
So with the certification of the meetings, I find it really good. And then I think it gets together with what Simon said about like having ambassadors, also making it more of a personal contact with people and explaining that certification. So the certification would be in the format of color, okay, but also symbol. And the introduction to that certification by an actual person, I think, becomes even more fundamental. So I don't know if institutional videos or explaining, human explanation instead of text explanation, so that the certification really acquires a personal touch, a human touch over.
Well, Karen, would you tell us a little bit more about? So I'm first of all, I'm a big proponent of videos describing stuff. And of course, that would apply to certification. We definitely need videos describing, what is this certification and all that. But can you tell me more about what you're saying there with not just text description, but like what precisely what are you saying? Go ahead.
I think that if you're going to apply certification to the meetings, it can't just be a stamp. It needs to have a welcoming concierge. Oh my God, did I get snobby yet? But you know what I mean? Simon was saying about that when people get to the lobby of a hotel, or when people get into the university, this was one thing I was always able to do. I have an antenna to figure out where to go, who to stick with that will be more coherent with myself, but many people do not have that. So if there were, when you first arrived there was like a homepage of introduction, I think that softens not only the entrance for the new people, but it sets a rhythm to the people that are posting events on the calendar. It becomes a more personalized thing apart from just the colors. Does that make any sense?
It's starting to make more sense. I'm still trying to visualize. So when you say like a homepage, are you talking about a homepage for a given event, or a homepage for the Chrysalis calendar itself?
That's a good idea. We don't know how that will evolve. For example, if I posted I'm going to post an art event that I'm going to call it a transcendental art experience. And I'm going to post it on a calendar. And I got the red certification because it's really safe place, and I'm doing it, and I'm guaranteeing that, I'm going to be facilitating the whole thing, etc. I would also like the presentation for my event to be with my face calling people to it, and not with a video of my invitation for people to come to my event, not just this is what you're going to get, so many hours of video, so many hours of conversation, exactly just like I am not on the camera right now. How ugly is that? Now look at the difference. Hi. This is what I've been working on while we've been talking. This is what's next to my computer. I wasn't sure if to use these bamboo needles or if to use this needle, but is it a knitting needle or is it a crochet needle? And today you notice that my hair is up and it makes a difference. Some other days my hair is going to be all over the place. This kind of interaction, I think, makes sense within the proposal of the Chrysalis calendar. But these are just ideas that are coming now. So that's probably why I can't really explain it so well. You give incentive to the person who is making the event to show more humanity. Like I just decided to turn on the camera now. Within the system of the calendar. And I think also that makes it more possible that the event will be successful. Because if it's just another event there, does that make more sense now?
Absolutely. I love it. In fact, I've long been a proponent that we have, brief video introductions to whatever the events are going to be. Brief. You don't want to spend 7 hours watching a video introduction for a half-hour meeting, trying to decide whether or not to invest half an hour in that meeting. It would make more sense to just show up and sit there with your camera off and see, okay, do I want to be here? I'm exaggerating, but to make a point. My point is, rather than a 7-hour introduction, we need something more like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And it just so happens this meeting that we're having today, every Thursday, it's called the press conference, because we started a new thing called the press conference back in November. And the original idea to that, and it's evolving, but the original idea of the press conference was that we have dozens of people show up, like did at the very first one in November, to present for 2 minutes each. And we record their presentation in 2 minutes. And that way you get a 2-minute gist. And then by watching that 2-minute video of the person who's going to be leading the meeting, you've got the best possible introduction. What's this meeting going to be about?
Yeah, and I think that, yes, that ties with what Simon was saying, somebody at the lobby of a hotel or somebody in the university that you can connect to, because it gives you a hook.
Absolutely. And speaking of which, the certification would not be given out lightly. No way. Not just because someone says, "Oh yeah, I'm red, I'm compassionate." No. In fact, listen to this. This community that has made 2 serious character assassination attempts against me. Listen to this. They use the word compassion all over the place. Oh my goodness. If you read their words, you would think, oh my God, these must be descendants of Jesus Christ and Mother Mary and, Buddha. These are just, oh my goodness, what wonderful people. And yet they're the nastiest character assassins I've ever run into anywhere. And so they're definitely wolves in sheep's clothing. And so certified compassionate would be very serious stuff, not to be given out lightly, to be earned, right? And but anyway, I think we're really panning for gold here. I love it. Great stuff, Karen, and thank you for showing your beautiful self on camera.
I'm still trying to figure out this thing about cameras. If I am busy doing something here, I have no problem on being on the camera, but to speak to a flat screen is very difficult for me. I mean, if I am passing on a message, no, but if I'm having a conversation or if I'm paying attention to the conversation, it's very difficult. And I've been like, I think the first time I noticed that I was 19 years old. And since then, I mean, it wasn't computer screens and it wasn't Zoom conversations, but that's why I keep the camera off, because for me, I pay more attention and I understand more of what's being said if my camera is off.
Well, it was nice to see you. And I was going to ask you if we could see the knitting, so it was so great. Yeah, let me see that.
This is like this. This started in 2013. I got out of the US, I got a box of leftover wool things. And then in it, there was a baby cardigan that was completely cut away. And now I've decided to fill in all the things that have been cut away. So eventually this will be a cardigan again. And I'm just using leftover pieces of wool. And I've started filling it up So today, during this conversation, I've done the green, this green here, and this orange here.
Beautiful colors, beautiful colors.
So
Thank you for
this,
showing.
until I get the whole cardigan again filled in. And for me, this is so special because afterwards, I remember exactly what was happening while I was doing each of the patches. So when this is finished and I have it hanging on in my studio, I will know that we were discussing color coding the Chrysalis calendar when I was doing the green and the orange. My brain works like this. It connects with, it sees patterns and it makes patterns and it produces connections through visual things.
Well, thank you for showing us very beautiful colors. So,
Sister Ibe, it's because I spent some time living in Mexico and I have never experienced anything as beautiful as the colors of Mexico.
right. I'm with you. Yes. All right.
Alrighty, I see Michael has his hand up. I'd actually love to take a break at some point sooner rather than later. But
Sure, I didn't have much to say. I
No, go ahead.
thought that I would say that I love all the ideas with the color coding and the giving people a chance to congregate with people that they get along with is always a good idea. But I also thought of a press conference announced after it's phase 3, mind you. Phase 3, we're announcing the Chrysalis calendar in a press conference somewhere really nice and be off your porch, Jamin, if you wanted. But it'd be wonderful. We could really cause a splash. We could drive traffic to the calendar. That's all. Thank you.
Well, yeah, we do the press conference here every Thursday, but nowhere near as well organized as we did in November. And I think there's a huge opportunity here for a synthesis between the press conference and the calendar, namely that people give brief introductions. Those introductions get associated with their events on the calendar. So you can watch a 2-minute video and try before you buy. That was the whole idea of Snack Bar, right? That, okay, here's this big menu. Okay, but goodness, do I want to order a full plate of that? Do I want to commit to some big 2-hour event? Here, take a free sample. Like when you go to those vegan frozen yogurt places, you get to have a little sample, a little taste before you commit to the big enchilada, right? Anyway, so I think we're going places here. I'm super excited. I'm going to pause recording. All right, welcome back, everyone. After a break, I'd like to offer a kind of a brief synthesis of what we've been discussing up till now. This is just my synthesis. Feel free to provide your own, or feel free to disagree and all that good stuff. But here's my brief synthesis, which is that and a lot of this is building off of your great comments, Simon, about the university. What a great kind of parallel analogy, metaphor, or whatever, parallel mapping. It's very appropriate because a lot of us are incoming freshmen into the Chrysalis, into this Chrysalis way of thinking. And I'd say it's a way bigger transition than going from, high school, preparatoria, as we say in Latin America, to university, universidad, and way bigger, because to embrace the Chrysalis is to embrace the collapse and falling apart of our old way, and to embrace the existential threats that are coming down on us like a freight train, and that we need something absolutely radically, totally different. And so I think the need for safe spaces and for people with the maternal instinct and counselors and very friendly people is absolutely crucial. So what we talked about a little bit ago is this idea of having certain meetings be certified compassionate. And that certification is serious business. We don't just hand it out. Oh, you say you're compassionate. Great. No, it's not what you say, it's what you prove. And it can be one thing to color code yourself like that, but to earn a certification is something totally different. So that's what I'm very strongly in favor of. And we make the analogy, we made the analogy of the food industry about how, in terms of policing, if we were to try to police the food industry, oh my goodness, there would just be tickets and jail sentences handed out here, there, and everywhere. But instead, what does the food industry does? Rather than try to punish the bad, it has rewarded the good with certifications. Certified non-GMO, certified organic, vegan, et cetera, right? Fair trade, whatever the good certification. So I think that's the direction we should head, rather than try to police people who are bad. Just certify the good. And then it's understood that if you're not certified, you're not certified. Simple as that. No promises made to the non-certified, right? We also talked about the importance of having short videos as kind of like a sample, and a very easy to consume, say, 2-minute video sample. That was the original inspiration of the press conference, and having short little 2-minute bursts to give just a very brief introduction, because 2 minutes is 2 minutes. It's not a long time commitment, right? You're interested you're curious about this meeting, watch the 2-minute introduction by the person who's going to be leading the meeting. And that will give you a really great sense of the spirit of that meeting, the culture, even the social norms. There's so much that's encapsulated in that 2-minute introduction, right? As we did on the original press conference. And getting to James's comment about the snack bar idea, whereas I don't really think it's practical or therefore a good idea to try to break things up into buckets or categories of topics, because I just think it's really hard to make that mapping happen, given that what is new is by definition something which doesn't really fit into a pre-existing category. That's not necessarily exactly true, but it's so hard to have a really good matching, and it's also so much work. And if in the end it's not going to work, why expend all that energy trying to make something work in terms of fitting everything into buckets? No. Instead, let's just use search. Let anyone write whatever title they want, whatever description they want. And that's the onus is on the meeting organizer to do that. And then we won't try to organize or fit you into any bucket or category. Let it just be standalone. Let people search. We've got keyword search. We have very highly advanced search algorithms that we can use. So I'd say a combination of search, color coding. I still like the idea of color coding, right? For basic social norms, et cetera. And then certification, certified compassionate, mainly certified compassionate, because I think the biggest risk factor that we need to address is people being hurt, people being put down, which is a form of hurt, people being insulted, people being talked over, people being overlooked, bypassed, and spat on, shat on, and in other ways, hurt by people who either do it accidentally or worse, do it intentionally. And so, and again, I think certification is the way to go, way to go there. So anyway, that's my offer of a synthesis. If anyone would like to add to or subtract from that or anything else, please go for it. Michael has his hand up. Go for it. Whenever you're ready, go for it, Michael.
Yeah, I like all those ideas. I like the certification. That's wonderful. There are many skills.
Michael, you cut out there. You cut out there, Michael, so. We'll
Refer
wait.
someone to reach our, I thought we could have little handbills to, with our website address where we could give to caregivers, or we could give to safety personnel. Hey, here's something that'll be supportive. Why don't you go to this website and connect with this group? That type of supportive measure might be helpful to people, hey, who need help. That's about all.
We missed the first half of what you said because you were disconnected there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying we could have down line after we're past phase 3 to promote the website. We could have little handbills printed out with our website address that we could give to safety officers and caregivers and people who are on the front line who see that, hey, someone needs somebody to talk to. Hey, go to this website and connect. Okay, you know, that type of idea I think would be wonderful to broaden our appeal.
Brother Jamie, no, and everybody, I was thinking about the color code and what I shared with you that last time. The thought was like, it's already looking with so much color, and we tried to change the colors to see if it will help, you know, just trying things. And an idea came to me about not putting the whole thing in color, but just the frame in whatever color code it is. I sent a very primitive doodle to Brother Jamie. I emailed it. I don't know if you can get it and maybe screen share it, but that was that simple idea. But I thought that was the way to get too much color and too many different colors, but just simplifying it. You know what I mean, Brother Jamie? And everyone, of course.
But did you say you sent it?
I emailed it, yeah. Just now.
Okay.
It's just simplified, and then I thought, well, that's the way that it won't be like a block of color, which was that what Eric brought up, you know. And I'm like, yeah, it's kind of getting with a lot, and we don't even we had only like, I don't know, 4 or 5 maybe, or maybe 4 different colors, but I thought he had something there, and then yeah, what came to me was simplify it this way, just sharing it with you all.
Okay, I don't see your email, Sister Ivy. I don't see a new email. Did you?
Oh.
But anyway, when you have it sent, just let me know, and we'll.
I'll check it. It says sent, but I'll check it.
Okay.
Well, while someone else shares something or whatever, I'm gonna resend it. Let's do that, because you don't get it, right?
Let me check again.
I have a question, if I may.
Oh, now I got your photos. But yeah,
Okay.
go ahead, Simon, and then I'll share. Go ahead.
just thinking whilst you were talking there about the culture within this calendar. Something in the UK called deep adaptation, started by Jem Bendell, I think I mentioned before, which is basically predicated on the assumption that we're all screwed anyway, that you know, the society and everything will collapse at some point because we're just not learning. And you will get certain people, hopefully, that will come, you know, because of this cross section of people that will find something for them within this calendar. You're going to get some people who are very depressed about what's going on. I'm just curious whether the culture of the calendar should be upbeat, should it be positive, or should it embrace people that are pessimistic?
You know, that's a really good point. And I would say that also doesn't map perfectly to this idea of color coding, but it maps partially in the following sense, okay? So you might get a climate scientist up there that says, look, here are the facts, here's the data, temperatures are spiking exponentially and we're done for. That might be color blue, not particularly compassionate, not particularly, you know, feel good. We're here to, you know, embrace you and make you feel good. No. Here's the facts, Jack. Do with it what you will. Versus code red might be, hey, welcome. Look, there's a lot of data out there. There's a lot of this, a lot of that, and we're going to be delving into that. But we want you to know that you're in a safe, loving space to help you assimilate that. And for us to move forward together in a positive way. You know, that might be red or color red or orange. I don't know. Anyway, go ahead, Simon.
Well, that's where the color aspect is nuanced, isn't it? Because somebody could, you know, stumble across the data, which is very negative in certain, you know, if Guy McPherson came on here, for example, his whole presentation is that, you know, the damage is done. There is no turning back. Although he did put some reservations on that in one of your presentations with the guy from Harvard, I think. But if somebody was unaware of the really bleak science, you know, that would be data-driven, head-centered. That's the very time they might need some compassion. So how would they reach out? How would we pick them up at that point if needs be? There he is.
Alan, welcome back. Good to see you. Yeah, this is some really important nuanced stuff. You know, how do we, you know, what is the most compassionate, loving way to present such difficult information? And it's interesting, Guy McPherson, one of his bottom lines, perhaps the bottom line of what he says, is that only love remains. We're going down, we don't have much time left, only love remains. So as far as he's concerned, he's taking a very love-centric approach, right? That turns out not working for a lot of people. I remember when I first invited Guy McPherson to speak at the Sierra Club dinner in the San Francisco Bay Area, where I'm program chair. We're on a prolonged hiatus because of COVID. But after his presentation, a middle-aged woman in the middle of the room raised her hand and said, all right, I've listened to your whole presentation. What are we all supposed to do now? Go home and commit suicide? Right? So.
Wow.
No, really. And Michael has his thumb down. I would agree with Michael. No, suicide isn't the answer. But you know, she put it in, you know, a pretty poetic way, I thought. And you know, so what is the most compassionate, loving way to present a lot of this stuff? So I think certified compassionate we really need to think hard and work on that. What would be a really compassionate, loving, safe, you know, I like the way you put it, Simon, that some people are, you know, maternal by nature, and, you know, we have good counselors and all that. You know, how do we, you know, what constitutes safety? What constitutes compassion? How do we, what exactly are we certifying when we say certified compassionate? What are our criteria? So anyway, yeah, let's keep passing it around. How do we do this?
Now, my question is, do we go further than that? Is the overall culture of the calendar positive? Do we say that, well, we can't, can we? This is very much an individual conclusion. But, you know, we're talking about a transformation of space. You know, we want to, the assumption is we're going to come out the other side in good shape. So does that mean the overall culture of the calendar is positive and upbeat?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Michael says yes with exclamation points. For me, here's my answer to that question, and it's, I don't mean this to be critical or negative, but not only do I think the answer to that is, well, let me, even before trying to answer that question, let me say, and again, this isn't meant to be critical, but just exploratory. Maybe that question itself is not the right question for the following reason. Maybe there will not, nor should there be, an overall culture to the calendar, right? It's kind of like if I pick up the Chicago Yellow Pages, it's a directory. You'll find good, bad, and ugly in there. So it's like, you know, it's like asking, so what's the overall culture of Chicago? I'm not going to find that in the Yellow Pages, right? Maybe there isn't an overall culture. Maybe there's hundreds of different cultures contained within these meetings, some of which are, yes, let's be positive, let's get out there and do stuff right now, very action oriented. Other people might say, whoa, we need some time deep in the chrysalis to really think and sort this out. I don't know what it means to be positive or action oriented. I don't even know what actions there are to take. You know, let's be contemplative before we can be positive about something. Others might say we need to be realistic. Guy McPherson would say we need to be realistic. We don't have much time left. Only love remains. You know, well, you know, so who's to define the culture if there is one, and who's to say that there is going to be only one? See, these are some of the fundamental things I think we need to grapple with before we're ready to just publish a calendar. You see what I'm saying? Right? I really want us to get, you know, not necessarily answer these questions, but at least grapple with them so that we can have a preliminary, albeit potentially totally incomplete, but at least preliminary answers to this. So we can say, hey, here, you know, in our introduction, look, we're groping with this just like you are. And inside the chrysalis, our eyes are closed. It's not like the butterfly's eyes are wide open and sees everything going around and has its visual cortex and everything else. No, we're deep in the chrysalis. So, you know, what is culture inside the chrysalis? What does it mean to be positive? Are we trying to be, you know, what does it mean to be compassionate? These are some serious, heavy questions, right? And I think the university analogy is a great one because incoming freshmen, they don't even necessarily know what their major, their focus is going to be. What do they want to graduate in? And what do they do after university? Maybe they need to spend a couple of years figuring all that out. So I think within the chrysalis, there's a lot of darkness and unknown and confusion. And so how do we embrace all that in a compassionate way? I think the university model is a great one for that, the university analogy. Anyway, I'm going to pass the talking feather because I'm kind of talking too much. No one has their hand raised, so whoever's ready, please jump in.
I would like to see, did this froze for everybody, or it was just me and you were talking and then you were there frozen? Was that just me, or?
I think it was just you, Sister Ivy. Somebody else
Oh.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was just you.
Oh, okay.
No problem here, I'm afraid, Sister Amy.
Okay. Could I, what was that question that you, just a question that you were talking about that Brother Simon asked? Or is that too much going back? I don't know, because I have to go out and in. I don't know why.
No problem. No problem. Go ahead, Simon. And then Karen has her hand up after. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just trying to establish if the mindset of the calendar in terms of, I'm very interested, it's a space. By definition, a chrysalis is around something. So what are the parameters within the chrysalis? I mean, the caterpillar doesn't go into the chrysalis not thinking it's going to come out the other side in the way that it wants to come out. It's a place of control and a positive decision. Caterpillar enters the chrysalis, it's all good. And everything that happens within the chrysalis is positive. The caterpillar don't think, oh, I can't be asked. It's just all duty pressing. I'll just stay here. So my question is, should that be relayed in some way through the website and the calendar and what's on the calendar and the meetings that take place? How do we help people that are depressed about some of the stuff that's going on in the world? Is the assumption is our role is to pick them up and help them be positive, or do we just meet them where they are? It's not a what's the word, apolitical. There's perspectives within the calendar, some parameters, why are we here type thing. My question so is, how is that relayed, and is that important?
Beautiful. Karen had her hand raised. Doesn't at the moment, but go ahead, Karen, and then followed by James. Go ahead, Karen.
There was referring to what Simon just asked, there was a quotation that I had exactly today, and I thought it related to what he was saying, and let me see if I can read this properly. Spontaneity of the true nature. The spontaneity of the true nature is based on having a notion of being and a notion of nowness. There is no need for panic. Everything is clear and precise, and you act depending on what the situation demands. Sometimes one has to be tough and sometimes gentle, but that is dictated by the situation, which is seen very clearly because you're in the now and you're just being. So yes, if we're setting up a website and a calendar, and it is under the idea of compassion and of giving support to people on various levels, there isn't a need for a definition of a positive or a negative or a this or a that, because it will evolve as we go along. I think that's what that quotation says. And especially because it's meetings, you don't know what will show up in the meeting. So the certification would show the competence of the group getting together. Does that make sense? Because there isn't any, there never was any way of guaranteeing anything, but now even less. The calendar is a platform to get people together with the proposal of discovering positive ways of how to continue. So if you're not within that parameter, you'll fall off the calendar. Because also some butterflies never make it out of the chrysalis. That's part of it. So, Simon, I think when you say the chrysalis doesn't, the larva doesn't go in there thinking, it doesn't. It's instinctive. That's what it has. That's what has to be done next.
So we're talking about the survival instinct, aren't we, really?
Yes. And also the protective instinct. And so even the predators are part of the ecosystem.
Of course.
But I think they,
Karen, I wonder if you could knit, I wonder if you could sew a cannabis vest. Cannabis vest. I'd like a cannabis vest. I can't find one.
I cannabis best.
Sorry,
Simon,
I'm sorry.
did you
Go ahead.
see,
Go
did
ahead.
you see,
Sorry.
were you here when I showed what I was doing while I was off camera?
No.
Yes. Yes.
All right.
Sorry. Go ahead.
So this is a cardigan that came in like this to me, and I'm now re-putting it together with rests of wool. And earlier on I had done the green and the orange, and just now I did this.
Awesome.
And I intend to make it into a whole child cardigan again. Yeah. So yes, I have a feeling right now that we're all aware that we're in deep shit, that I don't like dinosaurs because they scare me. So when I say dinosaurs, I mean the ugly stuff. Finally, the dinosaurs are dying. They were still lurking in the corners until now and frightening us, but now they're not surviving anymore. The old stuff, the bad stuff is dying because there is no sustenance for that. It has to be positive. It has to be love. It has to be constructive. So yes, there will be always on the perimeter the bad stuff. But the whole point is not to think about it, but to think about how to elevate. So
aren't you confirming that the calendar does need to have a very strong culture of positivity?
you can't guarantee that. It already has, because you can't.
Yeah, but it's a mindset. It doesn't. You can't guarantee anything. It's true, but there is, people make a living writing books about the importance of positive mental attitude. It's a bit of a cliche, but can we have collective superintelligence, a collective positive attitude? Or is that not what the calendar? I would like to think that's what the calendar's about.
That's what the calendar is about.
Posit. Go ahead, Karen. I'm sorry.
That's what the calendar is about, but the bad stuff just falls off the calendar. It doesn't even stick to the calendar because it doesn't make sense within the calendar.
I would posit that just having the conversation.cc is a solution. It's like a new approach to problem solving, cross-pollination possibilities to solve problems we can't waste time.
Yeah, that's got to be it. I mean, Jamin talks about, feeding everybody, the climate control options. These are positive steps that we can take. So that has to be the overall drive of this place. It's a place to come. You can come if you're depressed and you've got problems and you're worried and concerned. We all are. But you come here ultimately to be lifted up. You know, if you just want to, you know, in the nicest possible way, if you just want to bleat, there might be more appropriate places for you. It's a difficult
But
one
I'm-
because we want to be, you know, compassion is a big part of what we're about here. But in the grand scheme of things,
You know, I have friends who won't let go of the idea that COVID is risky. COVID, if you're not vaccinated, will kill you. And I'm saying, I agree. I'm protecting myself from COVID, but am I going to think about wellness also? You know, I think so. If I'm going to take wellness prevention steps, but I'm not going to always worry about the negative effects of it all the time.
good analogy. I mean, I haven't worn a mask yet. I never joined.
I'm thinking in terms now of when you go, you're sick of anything, and you go to a doctor or to a therapist. You only go back to the next consultation. Do you only go back to the next consultation if you felt good in the first one? Not necessarily. Maybe the only energy that you had or the only possibility that you had was to go to that person. So you're in such a desperate situation that you go for a second time until something says, I'm not going there anymore.
James,
Or the other way around. You're going to say something, Alan?
I'm waiting for James.
Oh, James.
James has had his hand up for a while.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I think in a sense, like I agree with what Karen, I think it is. I can't see everyone's name on the screen, but what we're proposing to build is based on, and that is obviously going to be put out there immediately, is that this is based on, designed to, you know, heal, save and transform life on earth. So obviously we're in that statement alone, we're advertising, we're drawing, you know, people who are interested in those, in, you know, those goals. Yeah, there's going to be bad players come along and everything else. But we can't be even thinking about that. I don't think we even need to be concerned about it, as that was just said. Because first of all, anyway, what we need, like, simply is if we're having a slightly kind of bit of a color coding, then you have a color code index when someone goes in there. You also have, once they know what the color code index is about, then they're not going to really accidentally fall into some information or videos that will frighten the shit out of them. And even if it does, that's what we're here for anyway. People need to have the shit frightened out of them because they need to be told what's happening, so we get on board together and fix the shit. Like, so sorry, no about the language, but the point is that it doesn't, we don't need to be worried about that or concerned about that. People are coming here going to come there for the reason, as you said, it's instinct. That caterpillar goes into the pupa. So, you know, its instinct is going to draw people into the calendar because their instinct is telling them something's not right in the world and we need to do something about this A, B, C, or D. And is there anyone out there talking about that? And that's what the calendar's for. So its instinct will, their own instincts will draw them to the calendar for whatever reasons that they have in their mind going on. There can also be straight up there as well at the start of the calendar with the index, a helpline stating as well that people with that may be, you know, dealing with depression or any other kind of situations like that, that they might be looking for some form of help like that. The fact is that if we are setting up a calendar and there's going to be multiples of different types of conversations going on there, well, then I'm quite sure that a lot of these conversations will have to do with meditations, psychology, all sorts of healing. And if so they could be guided towards those places as well, you know what I'm saying, those conversations. But So all those things will work themselves out. The people who are dealing with depression, or the undesirables who will come along and start trying to cause trouble, they'll all be weeded out, because they'll soon find out they can't go screaming, sharing, bombing or anything else. Once people know the protocols in the meeting, they'll soon be, you know, just weeded out because of the fact that their presence won't be warranted or needed there. So we can't be worrying about all the P's and Q's of it. That's the way I see it, and I need to get the basic structures done as, you know, quickly as possible, as we're saying. Like, but we, you know, these problems will definitely weed themselves out in the end. Like, carry on.
I've lost my facility to raise a hand. I don't know what's happened with my Zoom connection. Anyway. Jamin, within the context of Zoom, does it lend itself to multiple breakout rooms one-on-one? Because this thing about therapy, I really have a real antithesis to the fact that therapy has become an industry, a profession. One of the best things anybody ever said to me, what do you call a therapist who doesn't charge? A friend. And if people do come to the calendar that are really down, it would be really nice to have specifically on the calendar breakout rooms for one-on-one, free therapy. And we wouldn't call it therapy, a free friend online. A stranger, a friend, what's a stranger? A friend you haven't met yet. I think the calendar needs to be very positive, but I also think it'd be a fantastic place for people that are desperate.
I think that's a great idea, and thank you for, you know, not narrowing it to therapy, but, you know, free therapy, and then you get into the legality. Are you a therapist? You know, are you a therapist? Are you are announcing? You know, you get into all the silly stuff. So thank you. That's good. Just and you know, I do believe that the love is what heals. So a good friend that is really has good intentions and good ideas for us, it's always very helpful. I mean, we don't have to, we have to be careful to listen to everything, but the love is what does it. So yeah, that's beautiful what you said. Thank you. And I also need to leave for some work, but I will be listening as much as I can. And thank you all for being here. And it's just always so wonderful to be with you. So I'll be hearing from you. And when I can get back, I will gladly. So have a great time.
Thank you, Sister Ivy. Great to see you here.
Bye.
I did get your email, so we can share that.
Oh, okay. Could you do that now or no?
Yeah. Let me do that now.
Oh, I'll just say some few minutes.
Yeah, this is what I got here. So
Yeah.
meeting, and then there's a little red house in the corner there. And
So
that's what I got.
yeah, I just meant, that's why I said it was just simplify about the color. What if it's just a frame and not the whole thing in color, which is, I think, what Eric was saying. This is getting too much. So, you know, that's why I said it's just a simple idea, but it still have also the emoji or whatever. So we have the color and we have the emoji, and there's plenty of space for them to, you know, write up whatever they want. So yeah, it's just a doodle, as you can see.
Yeah, very good. Very good. I like that idea very much. In fact, that's exactly what I had in mind with the color coding. It's just the frame. And then inside, black and white text, emojis, icons, bring it, no problem. But at least just kind of so that people who are really looking for the red stuff can just find it at a glance. And
Yes.
even filter for it. Only show me the stuff that's certified compassionate. I'm feeling very vulnerable right now. I need support. You know, I'm freaking out. My world is falling apart. Fine, filter only for certified compassionate. Just like somebody might say, listen, I only want to buy certified organic, or I only want to eat vegan, right? Wonderful, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Legality of this is extremely complicated.
What thing is extremely complicated?
Events, yes, but and I'm only saying this from experience that I've had observing. I am an artist. I have no legal background whatsoever, but the legality of the word therapy is huge.
Yeah, that's why it was good.
And on the internet, putting yourself out there, then yes, it needs to stay on a note that it's clearly not taking, and this, I'm going to say this very straightforward, and I don't mean it carelessly, but there is huge responsibility when meeting people in crisis, and you don't even most of the time know that they're in crisis. So I've met in the various countries where I've lived situations where there were crisis lines, and each one of them operated on a different system. And really, because I think that this is where we're going towards. Too many people getting unbalanced. This has to be dealt with. This side of the calendar has to be dealt with very carefully. It's extremely complicated, difficult, messy, delicate. And I say this because I do not shy away from it. Because if I did shy away from it, I wouldn't be saying anything. I would be without the video. I would be with a black screen just listening.
Wouldn't it get complicated as well if you certify is it someone that's been certified as compassionate, or some group, and what if somebody comes along and says they want their group to be certified compassionate, and who's going to say, well, no, you can't be because you're not, or who's judging it, who's setting it up, who's creating that? Isn't that going to create all sorts of problems as well?
Sure. I mean, it's all really incredibly valid points, Karen. I'm just trying to establish, what the calendar is. That's what we're doing, I think. And, what fits inside it. It is challenging. And of course, the wrong person who's got no training, and this is not about trained therapists or people paying, but nonetheless, there does need to be a degree of, I guess, training, for want of a better word, because people can put their foot in it big time and say completely the wrong thing and tip somebody over the edge sometimes if they're not careful.
I have situations within the family that, because I am physically away from their daily life, I don't dare to speak to them, because I can't really, from a text message, even from a telephone call, exactly know in what stage they're in. And it kills me, because I would have information, but the passing on this information to them would need me to be following their daily development and watching their daily reaction. I have tons of information for this specific person I'm thinking of.
So what are you saying? Out of fear of saying the wrong thing, you end up saying nothing?
You cannot evaluate what's going on online. There's body language included. There is so yes. So I have stepped back because the person reaches out to me very much, and I can't get a small enough picture of what their situation is. So I've stepped back. Yes, I've withheld. I try when I can. I try to give information to the people who are around this person, but even that is extremely difficult because they also have their limits and whatever that means, you know.
This is really interesting because you're actually touching upon the limitations of the Zoomosphere.
Yes, that's why my camera is off most of the time, because I'm trying to be part of this world,
Right.
and bring 57 years of experience that I, you know, have in my hands, which I think it's not because it's me, but it's, I admire experience, and
Right.
I know I bring experience. So how do I do that?
This is why I'm very, very interested in the relationship between this and the real world and relocalization. Because if there was some sort of network and connections whereby you knew somebody who lived locally and you had a relationship with them and you thought they could help.
I've done that in another situation.
Right.
Somebody said to me, I am considering suicide.
Okay.
So I connected this person who was considering suicide with a specialist and the suicide. I'm not saying I saved, but that's what I was able to do because it was said to me. And I did it in a way that I was asking, is it okay if I connect you with that person? And person, is it okay if I connect you with somebody who's saying this? And they agreed. So they met there. And eventually the person who was considering suicide said, you are a really good person to me, which I never expected to hear, because that wasn't what I wasn't going for anything. I was just thinking, okay, I know somebody who can solve this problem. And I went ahead and I risked it, even though that was through 2 different continents and all, but the circumstances were different. It was explicit.
So
And I knew how to do the, and at other times I just get very, or I keep thinking of more and more situations of, I knew somebody else who was really in a really bad situation, getting worse and worse and worse by the moment, but that person was so reclusive that and we were in contact constantly, but the person wasn't open to anything. They liked the situation where they were in, and now that they've gone, you think, oh my God, that was asking for help. Oh my God, I remember, it keeps pouring in my head because yes, Sister Ivy.
Oh, I was just thinking that there've been so many, just sharing with you, that there've been many ideas, many things that like have seemed complicated, and I tell you, we got good at just making it simple, you know, finding the way to make it simple and finding the conversations and the thoughts to get whatever it was simple. So it is so good to have that, of course, thought brought here, but yeah, we can make it, get the way to make it simple and make sure that we don't complicate
What is simple,
it.
Sister Ivy?
No, that
What is the definition of simple?
Me.
just I'm referring like just the simple things in life and not just getting so complicated as we humans are very good to do. So I refer to that, just keeping it simple. And I've seen in many occasions that something seems complicated, but we all with this intelligence all together just got it to okay, just got it simple. So I was glad about it as I was listening to you. I'm like remembering some of those things. I just wanted to share that. Yeah, we're good at keeping it simple, and thank you for being here. That's great. I need to go. I do need to go, but it's hard to leave you guys. So we know that we love to be together, and I'll just see you another time. Have a great conversation.
El que mucho se despide,
Pocas ganas tiene.
pocas ganas tiene de irse.
Exacto, hermano. Perfecto, perfecto. Yes.
And I'm gonna translate that to English for those who have not lived in Mexico or Colombia or Galicia. And that welcome Eric, Eric Gallego. That saying says that he who spends a lot of time saying goodbye, goodbye, goodbye means that they have very little desire to actually leave. So,
And I said, that's perfect. That's perfect. I just have to go for work, but yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
thank
Okay, I
you.
see you.
Hasta
Eric.
mañana. Hasta
Hasta-
mañana, Sister IB. Thank you.
Hasta mañana. Espero que no. I
No,
hope not.
or this afternoon at 4 o'clock, we have Food Healers Los Angeles, which
Yes,
you are the
yes.
heart of. So I'll see you at 4.
Yeah.
See you at
Yeah,
4?
absolutely.
Okay, great.
Absolutely. Yes.
Sister
Hello,
Ivy.
Eric. So nice to that you here. Sorry, I had to go now.
Sister Ivy, just before you go, Sister Ivy,
Yes.
please. I'm
Yes.
sorry if I seem to have made things not simple. My commitment when I come to these meetings is to offer the best that I have. So that's my only intent here.
Of course. Oh no need to say sorry. Please don't say that. No, it's that was just when we just hearing the conversation. No need to say sorry.
Did I miss a fight?
Thank you for
Did I miss
being
the
here.
excitement? Did I miss a fight?
No, I don't fight.
All good. No, thank you for being here, and thank you everybody too. Lots of love to all, and a great day, and see you later.
All right, Sister Ivy, take good care. We'll see you later. And
Basically,
welcome.
two types.
Aaron, I don't think Sister Ivy was meaning you were needing to be more simple. It's just a general thing. Me and Jamie have spoken about this before. It's like general thing happens a lot. It's like we're talking about doing something and getting somewhere, and you end up like in a 3-hour conversation. And we talk about, Jamie and me, we refer to, what is it, the Monty Python sketch, where he, right, we've got to have a decision about this made. We'll have a vote on it, and we'll write down the notes on whatever. And a woman comes running in and she says, they're killing him. He's outside. We've got to run and save him now. And say, right, okay, right, we'll have to have a vote on this. And then they sit and have another debate about it. It's like making it all complicated. It's like that. Sometimes that happens in some meetings. We noticed a wee bit in Kiko Labs to some degree.
I know that sketch from Monty Python.
But yeah, simplification was like the best tool I've seen for simplifying things is Jamin writes up a list of three items, and then if by the end of the conversation we've worked out what the answer to those 3 questions are, we've kind of like we've done something where we could sit and debate in all kinds of different angles and perspectives of all sorts of stuff. And you know, I think once in Kiko Labs they spent 3 hours talking about how to have a conversation. So it's obviously can be important and relevant, but have a conversation to get somewhere, but then just sort of a discussion about how to have a conversation seems like you're like slightly sidetracking from the actual goal of where that conversation is ultimately going.
I think what I wanted to say when I said the complication of compassion developing into other terms is like exactly that. It needs to be simple, because if it gets into levels of psychology and therapy and all of that, it can get very complicated. So it's a platform for events of a certain kind. Is that what we're going for? And that's the question.
Yeah, not even a platform, just a calendar, right? A place where people can find them. It's not necessarily a platform where they're taking place, right? It's a wall, basically, right? It's a notice board, essentially, is what it is. It gets a little bit more complicated than that because there's a lot going on in it. But it's essentially post-it notes on a wall is essentially what it is. This is what's going on.
And it's interesting that you know, you should pop in and say that, because we've been going into much deeper levels of, wait a second, is it just that? Or, you know, what, if any, are the filters, right?
That's the hard bit, is how do you organize it? How do you create the filters and the color scheme and the categorization such that it is user friendly, can hold a lot of information, make it accessible without being confusing? No, that is absolutely the challenge, and it's not easy. It's not easy.
If I may,
Very useful.
if I may comment to Eric, this is Michael.
I was just saying, I found it very useful being with Eric's meeting earlier today. I was listening in. There's one aspect of it is getting the calendar, getting people together, but what Eric's doing earlier today is an actual group of people who are actually living together, creating a community, you know, discussing the actual problems on the ground. We'll actual, you know, how's this going to happen? How's that going to happen? You know, who's going to put the wheelie bin out? You know, it's like all the different actual subtle questions of the actual reality of it. It's like getting down to and personalities and how they blend and all these kind of things, because intentional city in the clouds is a intentional city of these communities ultimately.
Yeah, and it's hard. I mean, if you listen to the conversation today, you see it's difficult, right? People bring very, very strong feeling. I mean, today we were talking about pets and livestock and how's that going to work, you know? And you know, people who don't have dogs are very worried that the dogs are going to be attacking their cats and their horses and keeping them up at night barking. And once one dog starts barking, they all start barking. If you've got loads of dogs on the place, it's going to be non-stop barking. And that's quite true. Do you know what I mean? And that's a legitimate, reasonable concern when you're going to be living cheek by jowl with someone. And it sounds like a trivial thing, but actually it's not. That's the thing that drives you fucking nuts when it's happening day in, day out.
And I've got an inspirational, simple comment following on what you just said, Eric. Okay, so if you imagine the myriad dimensions of creating an intentional community, that's just one. There's
that's right. It's complicated, dude.
It almost feels like one of those geometrical puzzles, 3D puzzles, and that just seems impossible to put together. So here's my simple thought, which for me is quite inspiring, actually. Prior to taking on that much more challenging problem of putting together an intentional community in the real world, how do we create an intentional community here in the Zoomosphere, where there literally are no pets, you know, barking or biting, or if your dog starts barking, you just mute your microphone, right? This seems like a much simpler problem, but if we can master this, that just seems like a very natural stepping stone to then creating an intentional community in the real world.
What do you mean? What do you mean by a virtual community? What exactly do you mean by a community?
I mean, literally what we have right here, right? This is a Zoom space 24/7. This one right here called The Conversation, where we have a bunch of different meetings. And, you know, just like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, you know, the same people keep turning up, and here we are, and hey, you know, we all kind of know each other, and then new people show up from time to time. And this is a virtual community. Welcome home, brother. This is where you live part of the time, right? This is what I mean. Now, and then the Chrysalis calendar is, in a sense, a community of communities, right? And that's what we're grappling with right now. How do we put that together? What is, you know, how do you define the walls of this intentional city within which there's myriad intentional communities? Think New York City. You know, you've got a Bulgarian neighborhood, you've got a Jamaican neighborhood, you've got a Polish neighborhood, Jewish neighborhoods, you know, and it all sort of seems to work, right? So, okay, so New York has kind of figured it out to a degree, or not. How do we figure this out? What is the Chrysalis calendar? What are the walls? What are the filters? What are the barriers? What is the telos, the essence, the goal, the aim? Is it saving, healing, and transforming life on Earth? Or is it any asshole from the far reaches of the world coming together to grind their axe against somebody else's face? You know, I mean, what the hell is it? We need to figure this out.
Yeah, I'd like to sort of offer a warning at a sort of very, very, very fundamental level, right? Because using the analogy that you've chosen of New York, nobody decided 100 years ago, right, this is what we want New York to develop into in 100 years' time, right? It happened on its own as an emergent process based on lots and lots of little decisions taken by lots and lots of people at all kinds of levels, right? There was no grand plan for what New York was going to become. So I think formulating a grand plan for what the Chrysalis calendar is going to become is potentially a huge mistake, right? You need to let it be what it's going to be. So I like the analogy of a baby in a womb, right? You know, once the baby is safely in the womb, you have no control over the developmental process that's taking place in there, right? All you can do is provide as healthy a womb as possible, right? You have no direct involvement as to what the baby, you know, you can't say, right, I want blue eyes and brown hair and long legs and blah 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 blah, right? You can't. There is no involvement of that. All you can do is nurture the space in which the development takes place, and I think this is akin to that, right? All we can do is not create it, but create the environment in which it will have an opportunity to create itself.
Beautiful, beautiful. You know, it's
and
interesting.
So that, in my opinion, that comes down to things like, I don't know, learning how to most effectively communicate our thoughts to each other in the most efficient possible manner, right? That would be one dimension of it, and making room for, I don't know, people's emotional reactions to things, right? Letting them have emotional reaction to things and not dismissing it as an emotional reaction, but letting them have the emotional reaction, because, do you know what I mean? Like that, these are the sorts of strands that feel to me like they cultivate a space in which emergent shit can happen.
Can I ask, Eric, this meeting you had earlier today, did you actually discuss how, let's say the community decided to let somebody in and they brought with them a dog that does yap 24/7? Did they discuss how they would respond to that situation?
Yeah, no. I mean, listen, these are not discussions you reach resolutions in very quickly. The point of today was really for people to air their questions and concerns, and then once we understand what those are, then we can start figuring out strategies to try and accommodate them, right? What I've introduced them. Have any of you come across sociocracy as a governance system? I've introduced them to sociocracy. It's a very, very cool idea. It doesn't work on voting or consensus. It works on consent, right? And so you bounce around an idea, you come up with a potential solution to it, and It works on, does anybody have an objection to this, right? In terms of what it is we're trying to accomplish, can anyone see a reason why this is not going to work? If so, say so, right? And if nobody objects, then this will go forward, right? So it works on consent, right? Not everybody has to be 100% behind it, but no one has any strong objections, and that's good enough to take it forward. That doesn't mean it's the final thing, right? But it means that then gets tried out. We'll see how it works, and then feedback on it, and so on. So it's that kind of prayer, and it gives groups of people an opportunity to take responsibility for a particular thing. You know, that circle of people takes responsibility for pets and livestock, for example, right? But the decisions that they make, once they've come to a agreement between them, that then goes out to the group as a whole. Does the group as a whole have any objections to this? If so, what are they? Objections get fed back to the first group, who can then incorporate those objections, come up with an improved strategy that takes account of those that nobody objects to, and so on, right? And so it's an iterative process. It takes time, but when you get to a thing that everybody doesn't disagree with, now you've got something. Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe not everyone's 100% enthusiastic, but nobody has any strong objections, and so everyone can get on board with it and you can move on. Getting full agreement on anything is virtually impossible, right? But getting to a stage where nobody has any strong objections, that's much more realistic.
Right. So ultimately about how to deal with something where there is no perfect solution. You still need a solution. There is no
Correct.
perfect solution.
Correct. What's the one that everyone can, all right then, fair enough, I can live with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the sayings in sociocracy is good enough for now, safe enough to try.
Absolutely. Right? That's brilliant. That's a really good synopsis of it. Good enough for now, safe enough to try. That's an excellent synopsis.
I was thinking, Jamin, in terms of, again, what is the space? Super collective intelligence. What is intelligence? What is intellect? I mean, is it ultimately super collective compassion? We'll get too smalkish about it, but super collective love, to quote Guy McPherson.
And that's a great question for perhaps a glass bead game. Speaking of which, I know we've got glass beads coming up in 17 minutes. Eric, I really loved the way you first introduced that to us many weeks ago when you said, all right, everyone talks for 1 minute and we go around the room and here's the question. And we were all in the same space and it was rapid fire. I'm not so crazy about the breakout rooms. It just seems to break the flow of all of us together going rapid fire. So that's just, I don't know, feedback or
yeah, no, listen, if there's only half a dozen people in the room, I'm really happy to do that. But if there's 15, 20 people in the room, then it's too cumbersome a game, and we need to break up into smaller rooms. But I mean, different size groups have different dynamics and different pros and cons to them, right? Again, there's no perfect thing, right? They're all different. And so a 2-player game and a 5-player game are very, very different things, right? They have a completely different dynamic to them. But there is something about a 2-player game where you have a much more intimate involvement in a 2-player game in shaping the overall game, right? In a 5-player game, you play much more of a backseat role, and so I personally like the smaller rooms, right? Because I like to sort of keep the idea close, whereas in a 5-player game it can get scattered around. In a 2-player game it stays on a lot, and I personally prefer that. But that's just a reflection of my personality type.
Very good. Welcome, Elemental Dreams. Good to see you. Welcome to the conversation. You're on mute, and that's okay. And feel free to unmute and say hello whenever you feel like it.
Sorry, didn't realize. Thank you. Hello.
All right. We're in the middle of a conversation about the Chrysalis calendar that we're all co-creating here. And in 15 minutes at the top of the hour, we'll shift gears to the glass beads game, which you may be here for, and but you're welcome here anytime, 24/7 in this
Okay.
space.
Cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I am again expecting a few people, only a handful, but we'll see. I'm expecting there's a few people who said they're coming tonight, so we'll see.
Very good. Very good.
But I'm very happy, James, to play at least one round as you say, in a whole room, or at least just divide the room into two, maybe something like that, depending on how many there are, and do a larger game. I'm happy to do one round like that. It's not something we don't often do, so it'd make a nice change for the regular players. It'll make a nice change for them.
Yeah. I just had I just had such a positive experience with that one time when you first introduced it to us, and it was like 1 minute each, and it was just like, wow.
But yeah, you can do that anytime in any conversation, right? Let's have a quick session, 1 minute each, go round. Here's the order. Just write the order in the chat. Right, boom, off you go. Start. All you need is a timer. I can show you the timer as well. There's an online. It's a free. You can just use it. You don't need to register or anything. I can show you how to program the timer, so you can have the timer on the screen as well. You can make it any way you want, right? You can have turns of any length, as many turns as you want, as many players. You can have gaps between the turns if you want to. You can have meditations at the start and at the finish. You set it up however you want.
Well, so I'd like to offer that we just go ahead and take 1 minute each, go around the room, and maybe we get a couple cycles in before, top of the hour. And by the way, speaking is not mandatory. And I'd rather do it without a timer. I can just keep track of the time on my own watch. So if everyone's game, and then we can talk about the Chrysalis calendar as a way to kind of synthesize where we're at. We'll just kind of go in alphabetical order here, if that works for everyone. Or actually, no, I'll just go around the room in the order on my screen. That'll be easier. Is everybody game? Thumbs up if you're game. And we are recording now, by the way.
Yeah.
And we can pause recording anytime. Please mute your microphone when you're not speaking. That'll help. And with that, let's do it. Michael, you're up first. I'll just raise one finger when you get to the 60-second mark. And, if you go over by 20 seconds or so, I'll start waving or doing this or something, just so we keep it fair. And when it's your turn.
Well, my connection is sure to disconnect, but I'll try to say that I enjoy these conversations. I think we made good progress today. And I really agree with the color system, because the more colors in the world, the better the world is, I believe. Thank you. I hate to comment too often. I tend to comment a lot, but I'm enjoying it. I hope nobody minds. Thank you.
All right. Next up is, thank you, Mike. Next up is Jamin. So for the Chrysalis calendar, I'm just really digging this process of co-creating it. I'm kind of two minds. Mike, if you don't mind muting, I'll mute you for now. I'm kind of two minds here. One, on the one hand, I really want to kind of really define it. What is it? What are the filters? What's the color scheme? How do we get a good launch? On the other hand, echoing Simon's comments from earlier, I'm like, let's quit the shit and just get it up there and as a bulletin board. And once it's up there, yes, let's have all these meetings about the Chrysalis calendar up on there that anyone can join. And then we'll do the refinement from there. But let's get out of our own way and freaking do this already. Anyway, that's my comment. Passing it to Simon.
I don't think I need a minute. Ditto. Yeah, I mean,
if I may add just briefly, it's Michael again, just to finish up. I think this is like the biggest project. I think it has the biggest potential of a lot of projects I've been privy to see that are very cutting edge. So thank you, Jamin and others, all of you. Thank you.
My primary feeling is that until the calendar is going up, and if we've got something on the calendar that are specifically timed to have these discussions, then we're depriving other people that might have really significant contributions to make. So until we get the calendar up and these meetings scheduled as a really open house for anybody and everybody, we don't know where this super collective intelligence really lies, do we? So we owe it to humanity. So we need to find somebody who can put it together and stick it out there and start to evolve it from there.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Simon. Up next is James, as we go around the room, 1 minute each. I'm timing. Go ahead, James.
So thanks, Sean. Yeah, I just agree. Just get it up there. I mean, we have the calendar, the app that we're using there. I mean, that has its own limitations. We just need to know what those limitations are and get the conversations that are going already up there and out there. So as Simon said, we start drawing in people that we need here, valuable people who otherwise could be here already. And if there's some way of having a first page on the calendar, just the first page should just basically be a simple index of what the color codes mean, and also a help page, just to let people know this is where you can go if you need help, blah blah blah. And that's it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, James. Up next is Alan, followed by Eric. Go ahead, Alan.
You're asking me to say something inspirational off the cuff. Oh dear. All I can ever think of on this subject is get an email together and something we can send out and invite people, tell people about it, and something like that. Maybe we could compose one together, or or several people could compose them and present them and say, here's something nice and simple, something really sort of very basic and short. Maybe just only when you open your email, it only just takes up the screen. It doesn't have to scroll down, see the rest. Something that's very sort of straight to the point, boom. Because I mean, I've heard a few people say when Jamin asks, "Did you read my email?" I've heard quite often. I've heard the response, "Yeah, I got halfway down and got bored." So I don't know. Yeah, something nice and simple, straight to the point, and people want to finish it and say, "Oh yeah, definitely have to get involved with this." And there's more mystery and intrigue left, and for them to sort of want to come in and find out what's going on.
Yeah, well, we at an earlier stage there in the block party, we already done an email, Jim, and there when we had that idea about sending out the email for the snack bar and inviting groups on. So I suppose we just only have to edit that email really, and that would do it. Instead of snack bar, you're using the Chrysalis calendar instead.
Beautiful. All right, we're going around the room, 1 minute each. Up next is Eric, followed by Karen, followed by Elemental Dreams. Go ahead, Eric.
I mean, it feels to me that the low-hanging fruit here is to populate as much as we can of this 24/7 room here, right? And just stick that on a calendar and stick that up. And that's easy. That's 10 minutes work, right? I mean, I put the money-free party and the communal living and the glass bead games on there, and it took me less than 5 minutes, right? So, I mean, in terms of actual work, writing stuff onto the calendar, we're talking about minutes of work. I have a suggestion that each and every one of us in this room right now makes a commitment to reach out to one other group that we know. We must all know various other groups, right? We reach out to one other, as a minimum, more if you like, one other group that we know, and encourage them to put their schedule onto this calendar and to use this room for their stuff, right? That's it. I'm done.
Beautiful, beautiful. Love it, love it. All right, Karen is next, followed by Elemental Dreams. Go ahead, Karen.
My idea for the Chrysalis calendar is that we're going to be so surprised by what evolves in such an amazing way that we can't even imagine. We're going to need a lot of meetings to coordinate the development of it once it's on.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Karen. All right, up next is Elemental Dreams, followed by Christopher, if he's even awake and aware. Go ahead, Elemental Dreams.
Hi, I've absolutely no idea what the Chrysalis calendar is, but it sounds interesting. I just followed the link for the glass beads game. I'd like to learn more though. I'm intrigued.
Do you mind if where did you come from? Where did you find that? Because I put it in a few places.
Challenge.
Oh, from Phalange, right? Okay, okay. I don't think I've
Hello.
seen you on one of the Phalange calls before. Sorry, I didn't recognise you from there.
I'm with Jess. I was on the one
Okay.
yesterday with
Okay.
Jess.
Okay.
Jess White. So I just followed your link.
Great. Well, I'm really glad you're here. I'm really glad at least someone from Phalange has turned up. I'm hoping a few will, because I think it'd be a really useful practice for this group.
Yeah, I
And it's
think there were
something.
people talking about it, so I just
Yeah,
thought I'd
there were a
jump in
few
and
said
see
they're
what
going
it
to
was.
come.
Yeah, I don't know what that is either. To be fair, so I'm unlearning here.
That's fine. I'm. That's good that you don't know what it is. Open beginner's mind and all that. It's good.
Yeah.
This is the calendar in action, isn't it?
Kind
It
of.
is.
So to answer your question about what is the calendar, at least for now, what it is basically is a notice board, right? So people can go to one calendar and find on that one calendar all of the events, interviews, conversations, festivals, podcasts, blah blah blah, that relate to the general domain of global and or individual transformation, right? That or
I
healing.
see. Okay. That makes
So that's
sense.
basically what it is, an events calendar where people can keep track of, you know, and can filter. I mean, ideally down the road, we're not there, we're nowhere near there yet. We're just at the very, very beginning, and we're talking about how do we actually just kick this thing off so that we have a zygote, right, which can now start to divide and develop. They're using the analogy of the womb before, right? Yeah, we need a fertilized egg to kick off the process, right? So that's what we're trying to make now, is the fertilized egg, and so and then yeah, the idea, this is what I was just saying a minute ago, is if we each reach out to one group and get them to put their events onto this calendar,
yeah,
straight away you're drawing a bigger audience to this room with an opportunity for cross-pollination between these groups to start taking place. And this is how collective intelligence happens, right? When groups start to talk to each other and transfer ideas from group to group, that's when real collective intelligence starts to happen on a big scale.
Yeah, that sounds good. I like the idea.
Sure. But it's also the calendar combined with a 24/7 Zoom room.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
I
there's
like it.
people on the Zoom room all the time.
That's the goal.
That's the idea. Exactly. Exactly. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right, Christopher, if you're here, please speak up. Otherwise, we're 2 minutes from the top of the hour. Everyone's had their 1 minute at the glass beads cycle, and I think this has been phenomenally productive. I just want to point that out. These last 15 minutes have been very, very productive. And I love everyone's comments, and Eric's in particular. It's 2 minutes from the top of the hour. Do we want to take a break? We've been here. Professor Peanut just entered the waiting room. Might it help you, Eric, to have a few minutes to kind of welcome people?
Yeah, no, that's a really good idea, and then people can drift in over the next 5 minutes. Yeah. That's an excellent idea to have a break now. It makes a nice fuzzy boundary between the sessions. I like fuzzy boundaries.
Okay, I'm going to make you host. Eric, please make me co-host.
Yep.
And anyone else you like. I think the room is full of co-hosts. Welcome, Professor Peanut. So we take an official break for the next 5 minutes, and Eric, I presume you'll be here welcoming people as they roll in. Is that fair?
Oh, Charles is here. Excellent.
I'm just wondering, Eric, fuzzy boundaries, is that some sort of euphemism?
Charles,
I'm still not getting it, even though you pointed out that it's smut. I'm still not getting it.
Howdy. What's happening?
Hey,
Charles.
Charles,
Nice to see you,
welcome.
man.
Great to see you. We're about to take a 5-minute break here, but kind of welcoming new people as they roll in. Eric is at the helm. Eric, please make me co-host.
Yeah, I'm just finding you in the list now. Yeah,
okay.
Don't worry, I haven't forgotten.
Okay, thanks. All right. I'll be back in 5, and Eric, take it away. We're kind of an unofficial break for 5 minutes, and then we'll start in earnest, I guess, or however Eric wants to do it. Your show, Eric. Thank you.
Yeah, 5 minutes is good. I mean, people tend to arrive a couple of minutes late, or often anyway. Some people arrive a few minutes late. So yeah, no, 5-minute break is perfect. Come back at 5 past the hour, or hang around and chat. I mean, I expect most people will be hanging around because a lot of people have only just arrived anyway. So hang around and chat, or take 5 minutes, make a cup of tea, as you will.
So I have a question then in the little lull here. I'm glad to be here and check in and check out what's happening and what's all the fuss about the glass bead game and everything. And I have another event that I'm sort of co-hosting right exactly after this, and I'm kind of slightly distracted by that, and I don't know if I have a clear question. I have a little bit more preparing to do, and I'm wondering if having less than like total attention the whole time is terrible and I shouldn't even try, or something like that.
No, I suspect you'll get drawn into the game. I mean, so long as you can focus some attention on the first 5 or 10 minutes while the explanation and possible demonstration game is happening, and then maybe participate in a game, and once you're in a game, I would imagine the game will take your attention back. It's very, very, very rare that anything has the ability to distract your attention from within the game itself.
Fair enough, but I just don't have a sense about the timing, or if there's.
I see. Well, there's a couple of rounds of it, right? So you can stay for as long as you want, basically. So I'll do about a 10-minute introduction, approximately, maybe a short demonstration game, and then a 10 or 15-minute game. So by 30 or 40 minutes past the hour, we'll be done with the first round, and then if you want to stay for the second round, you can do.
Got it. That's good to know. Very good. It helps a lot for me to orient myself and be present. Thank you.
Hey, James. Good to see you, buddy. Josh is back. A little bit of a better turnout this week, old man. Jolly good. We're just on a break until 5 past the hour. Do feel free to chat amongst yourselves. You can unmute yourselves as you wish. I'm going to go and put the kettle on.
Yeah. No. There are glass bead things.
So how do we find out more about the Chrysalis calendar then?
Chrysalis calendar?
Yeah. How do you get onto it?
we're using a particular platform called Team Up.
Okay.
So we can send you an invitation, I think. That's the way it works. And you can see what's on there and start adding events.
Okay. Yeah, that would be good. Can you send an invite?
Yeah, but as it stands, we're just in the process of developing it and getting it
Okay,
off the
yeah.
ground as well. So there isn't a
Yeah.
whole lot to see on it at the moment.
Okay. How did you guys find each other?
These things happen and you don't remember, do you? It's crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
I met Eric through our mutual interest in resource-based economies, getting rid of money.
Okay. So it's just kind of evolved.
Yeah. I think the whole point of the calendar is so many of these things overlap, don't they? So
Yeah.
This is I found out about it from Saturday Night Alive. Saturday Night Alive, it's kind of a new age group of people, loving, peaceful group. Saturday nights it happens. I believe it's from 6 to 9 Pacific time, West Coast time.
All right, Berta's here. Very good. All right, there's a couple of regular players here. It's good for me because it means there's people to play a demonstration game, which is good. For all the people that haven't played before or seen a game before, that's the best way to understand it. All right, I'm going to kick off if that's all right. Sorry, say again? Ah, that's an echo. That's an echo as well.
Oh, that's Michael. Michael, I'm going to mute you.
I can't seem to mute him. I'm trying. I can't seem to.
I'm trying as well. Maybe we're canceling each other out. Hey,
Yeah, I think that's probably
Michael.
what we're doing. I think that's exactly what was happening. Right. Okay. So let's kick off. So welcome. It's really nice. It's always such a pleasure to introduce people to this game because I believe deeply that it's a really beautiful and powerful thing and has the ability to transform the way people interact with each other. So I'm really happy to see so many people here that haven't played before. I'm going to give a very quick introduction to what the game is and how it's played. And then I'm going to pick on Josh and Dirta, assuming Dirta's actually here. Are you here?
Yes, I am.
Fantastic. I'm gonna corral you into doing a demonstration game with Josh, if that's okay.
Yes, cool.
Perfect. All right. So, and then you'll see a quick game being played, and then we'll break off into rooms and we'll play a game ourselves, and then come back here and have a discussion about any insights we've gained in those games. So, the glass bead game, the name comes from a book by Hermann Hesse. And in the book by Hermann Hesse, he doesn't actually explain the play of the game, but he's very clear about what it is playing with the ideas of the culture. That's what it is. A very high level game where we're playing with really big ideas and trying to gain a deeper understanding into these big ideas. That's ultimately